I don't know, guys. It kind of feels like Rings of Power Season 2 could be better. The trailer that just dropped, the official trailer that dropped yesterday, actually is pretty good. It's almost like they listened to feedback, and maybe they did. It could be that this was part of their long-term plan, and we just needed to wait and be patient for season one's awkwardness to be done with. But this looks really, really good. So, in the first trailer that we watched, one of the areas that I fixated on was when they see Kellen Brimbor meeting Anatar, aka Sauron, and he looks as though he's coming out of this pillar of light, and he appears brilliant and shining, and he thinks that he's one of the Valars sent to help him and the elves, and he's just enamored with all of the knowledge and the ring lore and all these things that Anatar brings to the table, right? This trailer, I love the focus on him realizing that Anatar is not who he thought he was and losing his mind over the corruption of Sauron from behind the scenes. Um, they showed, in my mind, um, definitely showed more respect to the lore in this trailer than in any of the previous trailers I've seen yet, especially if you compare season 1 to season 2, which is why I want to think that they actually listened to feedback and went more lore specific this time. A lot of season one was establishing their own sort of the template that we're going to be using as we move forward, and we're going to be playing fast and loose with some of the lore components and making an entertaining Lord of the Rings show, right? Totally fine with that. Peter Jackson did the same, and I will say I was overly critical. I'm not too big of a man to admit this. I was overly critical of some aspects of Rings of Power season one going into it, in a way that I was also critical with Peter Jackson back in the day. But with the adage of time, Peter Jackson's films have mellowed into my favorite film franchise of all time, alongside Star Wars. And the same thing with like George Lucas. And I remember when the prequel trilogy came out. I had sour notes. I still loved it, but I had notes where I was like, "Ooh, midichlorians, really, George? Really, George?" And over the years, I've just, it's cool, man. It's his creation. He can do what he wants. I'm happy to follow along with that journey, and I've mellowed over the years to where I'm just like, you know what? Do your thing. I'm just along for the ride, and I'm glad that that's happened, because with a year's time and also watching through my wife's perspective, who she's never read the books, and she gave the show an 8 out of 10 the first season. Going back and rewatching things with her and talking about it a little bit more, I can see where they definitely did things that I didn't agree with. But at the end of the day, I do feel that season one was a pretty good attempt at doing a Lord of the Rings show with a time period where they don't own all the rights, and so they can't do things exactly how they were in the book because there is no book to follow. There are notes, but this is where I've talked about before. Like, a lot of people don't understand the nightmare of adapting an IP, because there are so many things you can't touch because of the way the rights for the Silmarillion are separated out from the rights for the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings, and the appendices that they have versus things that are elsewhere. That's tricky, tricky territory. They can allude to things, but they can't specifically mention things without express permission of the Tolkien estate. It's very complicated. So, understanding that framework, obviously these guys wanted to make a mark for themselves. I still dislike aspects of season one, but seeing the trailer for season two has me going, ooh, I think you guys may have actually paid attention to feedback, went a little bit deeper into the lore, and now we're going to get a really good season. Like, there were things in season one. My wife would not have given it an 8 out of 10 had it not been a good fantasy show, right? And I know some of you right now are getting triggered. It's not true. That's impossible. I always picture Luke Skywalker hanging on the edge of the pillar when Darth Vader tells him that he's father. Every time I see someone react that way, when I say, "Hey, my wife gave it an 8 out of 10," she was entertained. That's not true. That's impossible. Um, it wouldn't have gotten to that point were it not a show that had good elements of entertaining television within it. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. Good visuals, cinematography, good lighting. There were a lot of, costumes were not the greatest, but a lot of things worked in the first one. It's going to be interesting to see how this one pairs up because remember they filmed the first one in New Zealand, and the second one, I have to remember, I think it was somewhere in England because they moved production back for cost purposes. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one looks visually with VFX added on and everything else compared to the first season. Everything I've seen in the first trailer though has me really excited because he's going through a really bad time, and there are some really cool shots in here of also like there's unrest going on in Numenor in one of these shots. Um, we obviously have the dwarves. This shot of a Region, I freaking love. There's some really cool stuff here. And of course, we have plenty of Galadriel and Sauron facing off. There's a lot of really cool elements here at play, and of course, war, Elrond, and there's a lot of visual imagery here in season two that makes me, yes, I will use the word hopeful, that season two is going to be much better than season one. And that's okay. There have been a lot of film trilogies I have watched over the years where the first film was kind of eh, second film was third film sometimes better, sometimes worse, but when viewed in the overall scope of a trilogy, are fun entertainment. And at the end of the day, that's all that I'm looking for is fun entertainment. Hopefully you'll be following along. I will be reviewing each individual episode of The Rings of Power Season 2 as they air. Unless I don't remember this show all coming out on the same day. I don't think no, it didn't because I did weekly episodes. We'll be doing the same this year. And remember, when I do my reviews, I do for them from two perspectives. One is my perspective as a Tolkien fan who has read the books many, many times, the Silmarillion a couple of times. I've done the Mondays in Middle Earth show already where we covered all this reread and a bunch of other stuff. And then the other perspective is from my wife's perspective, which is as someone who has never read the Silmarillion, never read the books, only seen Peter Jackson's films, and is watching this as a fan of Middle Earth through film and television media. So she has a completely different perspective, which I like to think gives me a pretty unbiased general review when I review the episodes. Anyway, folks, I'm sniffling. I gotta go. I'll see you next time. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Daily streams here and on Twitch at 11 a.m. Have fun, everybody. Happy watching.